Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Philippine Sports Commission Women in Sports, welcome to the seventh episode of Rise Up and Shape Up. I am Clarissa, and I will be your host for today. And today is an extra special episode because we have a very inspiring story. We are celebrating the story of a Pinay para-athlete who has made great and overwhelming achievements with her strength and competitive spirit despite her challenging situation. She has fought against adversity throughout her life, and yet she never gave up her dream of representing the country at the highest level. As they say, sports no boundaries, and this woman is definitely unstoppable. But before we start our discussions, let's hear a message from the Oversight Commissioner on Women in Sports, Celia H. Kiram.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Rise Up, Shape Up. This time, we are featuring a touching and inspiring story of a Pinay Paralympic who was able to rise from a physical challenging disability to become a world-class athlete. And in year 2000, had put the Philippines on a spotlight worldwide for winning for the country its first Paralympic medal. Like the current COVID-19 pandemic, which can cause life-challenging state and conditions of people, community, and humanity, incurring physical disability is also a very challenging hurdle to take on. But both pandemic and physical disabilities are barriers that we can overcome and turn into powerful tool to generate new dimension and greater heights of success in life. So, to the Filipino nation, we can rise up from pandemic and using all the lessons we learn in this hard situation, we can reshape our life into a better and more fulfilling one. If you think life is tough, please look at our para-athletes who have overcome the odds to, showcase, rather, the kind of capacity and determination which I am sure everyone is capable of doing. Our para-athletes are testaments to the power of positive mental attitude. Paralympic gold medalist Richard Whitehead, who was born without the lower half of legs, said, "When you fail, you learn a lot about yourself and come back stronger. Life need not have limits. Have an opportunity in life is important, but what defines you is what you do with that opportunity. Disability need not be an obstacle to success," wrote Stephen Hawking in the first ever World Disability Report back in 2011 by the United Nations. Sadly though, it is also reported that 93% of women with disabilities are not involved in sport, and women comprise only 1/3 of athletes with disabilities in international competitions. Thus, providing women with disabilities the opportunity to compete, demonstrate their physical ability, sport can help reduce gender stereotypes and negative perceptions associated with women with disabilities, according to the United Nations. And therefore, to raise social awareness about para sports and its capacity to inspire people to rise up and shape up, the Philippine Sports Commission will bring you the story of a Pinay para-athlete who has made the most of an extraordinary situation to become a world-class athlete, bringing pride not only to oneself but to the Philippines. She used her grit and determination to be an inspiration to others. She never gave up her dream of moving up from challenging physical condition. She is a testament of perseverance, determination, and willpower. Today, we are proud to share with you the life story of our dear Pinay para-athlete, Adeline Dumapong, whose inspirational story will motivate us to make the most of the opportunities we have. But before we give you Adeline, let us all get a brief about powerlifting for para-athletes and other exciting information about the sports. Its difference from weightlifting and some techniques. From no less than retired General Antonio Taguibao. General Taguibao is currently the coach of Adeline, and proudly, he was a world-class multi-medal powerlifter and holds several Philippine records. The only Filipino to clinch the World Masters Championship title for 4 consecutive years. General Taguibao finished a degree in physical education from the University of the Philippines and a master program in public administration. Take it away, General.
Good afternoon. I am Coach Tony Taguibao, the head coach of the Philippine Para Powerlifting team. There are two strength sports that utilizes the barbell: Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting. Olympic weightlifting has two events: the snatch and the clean and jerk. Snatch is done in a single movement. From the floor, you raise it up overhead. That's the snatch. Clean and jerk is done in two movements. From the floor until it reaches your shoulder, you stand up, and from that position, you push it up in a jerk position overhead. That's clean and jerk. The total of these two events will determine the winner. Powerlifting, on the other hand, has three events: the squats, the bench press, and the deadlift. These are three basic and major exercises done using the barbell, but they place this as one of a major sporting event. The squats is done by letting the bar rest on your back and then raise it up off the rack. Do one step backward, take a deep breath, and squat it as low as you can until your knee is higher than your hip bone, and then squat it straight up to upright position. In the bench press, you take the bar off the rack, and in a lockout straight arm position, you go down horizontally until the bar reaches your chest, and then press it straight up until your arms are fully locked out again. For the deadlift, in a dead start position, from the floor, you grip the bar hard and lift it up together with your body as you assume an upright position. The total of these three lifts will determine the winner. Para powerlifting is a major strength sport for the differently able. It is almost similar to the bench press event of powerlifting, and the difference is more on the design of the bench and that the lifters are strapped waist down while executing the lift. The highest lift of that particular event will determine the winner. being the coach of the Philippine Powerlifting team for the past 1 year and 2 months. The winning factor of Miss Adeline Dumapong is her genetics and how she capitalizes on maximizing her leverage. The special skills of Adeline Dumapong may be impressive, but what I want everybody to know is her attitude of being coachable and trainable. She has no prima donna complex in spite of being the first medalist in the Paralympics for the Philippines. She is a team player and has great concern for the team. She puts the team first in her list before herself. Possesses the right attitude in training and remains focused whenever she trains and sees to it that she completes her training for that day. An easy task for me because as a coach, I have to maintain the triumvirate of the training program and the venue, the athlete, and myself. She makes it easy for me. Her quality of righteousness, which may have been developed through the years, from her childhood to her upbringing until she completed her education, has also greatly influenced her training attitude. What I admire most in her is her humility. And this will inspire me more to have a fruitful 5 more years with her, and we will be aiming for another 10% improvement in her performance. More power to you, Adeline.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Turan and General Antonio Taguibao. Now, to inspire all of us to never give up is a Pinay Paralympic powerlifter. She is the first Filipina to win a Paralympic medal when she won bronze in 2000 Summer Paralympics. Born in the province of Ifugao, she was unfortunately diagnosed with polio at the age of 6. Paralyzed from the waist down, her family made the hard decision to move her to a school for children with disabilities in Manila. It was at that school that a Belgian missionary first exposed her to sports. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Miss Adeline Dumapong-Ancheta.
The most prestigious and the most memorable na medal na nakuha ko sa powerlifting ay yung bronze medal sa Paralympic Games in Sydney, Australia, year 2000. Bagamat bronze medal yon, ang pakiramdam kasi parang gold medal. Ang equivalent niya ginto talaga eh. Alam niyo po, before ng pagpunta namin sa Sydney, alam niyo naman po siguro na during that time, hindi pa masyado ang suporta ng Philippine Sports Commission sa para sports. Dahil nga, syempre, wala pang batas, ganyan. Although, nakadepende kasi po yun. Sa tingin ko, nakadepende sa leadership ng Philippine Sports Commission. Tapos, syempre, nandyan yung mga technicalities na may mga nakaalat na budget para sa ano. At hindi kasama doon ang para sports, no? So, nandun kami sa outreach program ng PSC. At doon palaging nailalagay ang para sports. Anyways po, so, back in 2000, si Chairman Quazon ang nagsabi na, sige, bibigyan ko kayo ng support, full support for training. At first time na makakasama ang Pilipinas sa Paralympic Games. Siyempre po, ang Paralympic Games ay katumbas ng Olympic Games para sa mga atletang may kapansanan. Bago kami nagpunta doon, may mga qualifiers. So, nag-gold ako sa US, nag-silver ako sa FESPIC Games, sa Bangkok, nag-gold ako sa Malaysia, ganyan po. At may mga nagsasabi na dito, uy, baka may potential kang manalo. Pero syempre, mahirap kasi hindi ko naman kilala kung sino yung mga makakalaban ko. Yung coach ko, bago lang din, walang, alam yun, tapos, paano kaya yun? Sa PSC main kami nagte-training nun eh. So, doon ang gym, magagaling ako sa Pag-asa. So, magte-take ako bago pa noon ng MRT. Mag-wheelchair kami kasi wala kaming pang taxi, no? So, wheelchair galore. Wheelchair. Mula sa bahay namin hanggang sa North EDSA station. Mula doon, mag-MRT hanggang Pasay. Mula doon, mag-wheelchair kami papuntang PSC. Binigyan nila kami ng kwarto. Alam niyo, isang parang bodega doon binigay nila yung isang part lang na yun, nilagyan ng kama. Pero ang daming mga kahoy, mga upuan, Pero I was very grateful kasi may sarili siyang CR, may ganyan. Anyway, so ganun po ang training namin. With my coach at the time, si Coach Honeyboy, did his best, no, to give me the best program na alam niya. So, nung nandun na kami sa Australia, meron na training daw, punta kami sa training venue. First time, pagpunta namin, full team ang USA nandun. So, syempre, meron say, USA, ganyan. Diyos ko, dalawa lang kami ng coach ko. First time namin pumasok, sobrang intimidated kami. Nandito yung China, nandiyan ang USA, nandiyan ang Nigeria, mga black, ang lalaki, ang lalaw din nila na parang, we're gonna go there and get the gold. Pero, pagpasok namin ng coach ko, kasi maraming benches mamimili kami. Pinili namin bandang gitna para ang light maliwanag. Pili kami doon. Excuse me, that bench is already taken. Oh, okay. So, lipat kami. So, medyo, that too is taken already. And wow, di ba? Ang nangyari, doon kami sa pinaka doon. Sabi ng coach ko, sige, wag mo pansinin yan, dito tayo sa dulo. O yan, di na kami, finally, nandun na kami. Kasi iisa lang, so isang bench lang. Ngayon kasi, merong Philippines nakalagay na, no? Dati wala, parang kahit anong vacant dyan, pwede mong puntahan. So yun ang unang-una. Yun talaga na-demoralize ako, no? Sobrang intimidated ako. Kasi wala ko, ano ba yun? Kung ganun, kasi dati nakita ko, may taga-masahe, may mga ganun pa, may mga punas-punas. Wala akong ganun. Walang taga-masahe. Dalawa lang kami ng coach ko. Wala akong ng mga ni-spray-spray. Wala mga pag ganun-ganun. Patay, paano kaya yun? Sabi ni Coach, Adeline, nag-training tayo sa Pilipinas. Kaya natin to. Dasal kami. Dinaan sa dasal. Siyempre, naman tayong Pinoy, di ba? Daan sa dasal. So, ganon. Every time we'll start our training, dadasal kami. Lalo na nung competition day na. So, doon din, medyo may idea na ako kasi nakakompete naman ako. I think that was my 5th na international competition. Pero iba talaga yung may mga puti, itim, ang lalaki na, coach, ayokong pumasok. Doon sa si coach, ano mo naman yan, coach? Doon kasi, pagpasok mo, maghuhubad kami lahat Kasi, di ba, giveaway kami, tapos doon na sa susunod, ultimo magtanggal ng damit. Ayoko talagang gawin na nandun sila. Ako yung pinakahuli palagi. Ako yung may kalaban ako taga-US. So, syempre, ang po talaga nila, ang tawag dito, sila bilang mga, of course, teammate nila no? So, every time, Mary, go! Ganyan. Ganyan silang mga, sisigawan na. Yung presentation of athletes na, no? So, nagpunta po ako doon. Ang China, nandun din. Grabe talaga yung kaba ko. Ma'am, ngayon, hindi ko na nga masyadong nung nandun ako sa stage, tuwing nandun ako sa stage, hindi ko na nakikita kung sinong nandun. Basta sobrang nakafocus lang ako. Tapos, yun po, talagang kung ano lang yung sinasabi ng coach ko. O, Adeline, ito yung bubuhatin mo. Hindi ko, oo lang ako ng oo, bahala na. Tapos, mga ganun po. And, nag-tie kami ng taga-US. So, kasi nakikita nila, nag-up and down yung ranking 1, 2, 3, gano'n. Sabi niya, uy, wala po talaga akong expectation. Ang gusto ko lang talaga is to perform well. Kasi nahiya ako sa Pilipinas. Tsaka kasama namin si Mr. Beredo, NPC President. Parang, alam ko naman nadehado kami. Parang gano'n, alam ko naman po yun. So, nothing to lose. Just do your best. At tsaka, yun naman kasi palaging sinasabi nila. Si Sir Mike din, parang sinasabi niya, no pressure ads. Just do your best, ganyan. Ganon din si Coach. Pero ramdam ko kasi, kahit na no pressure, alam ko lahat sila kabado. Kasi parang nandun yung nakasalalay. Kasi, nakakahiya pagka hindi tayo nag-perform well. Nakakaya sa mga tumulong, sa naniwala. So parang kahit sinasabi nilang no pressure, ako sa sarili ko, may pressure. So, ganun po. Anyway, hanggang sa yun nga, nakita namin na, actually ako, nandun lang ako, tahimik lang ako eh. Yung coach ko nakita niya, hala Ads, sa second lift, nagpantay kami nung taga-US. So running for third, kasi ang layo ng layo ng may Egypt, China, yun ang mga nandun nun. US, Nigeria, Philippines, ang nagpapare-pareho. Lang kami, pareho kami ng weight na binuhat. Mas magaan lang ako sa kanila. Kaya nanalo ako. So, yun nga, nung pagka, na yun, hala, nagkakagulo na si coach niya, kapya ako, hindi talaga nag-sink in muna sa akin yun. Kasi din, kailangan na mag-arrange para sa ceremony, sa awarding ceremony. Kasi after the event, ceremony na kagad, medal ceremony. Tapos, yun nga po. So, gano'n. Wala naman akong nakikitang mga wala akong kakilala sa audience eh. So, hindi lang. Gusto ko nang matapos, gusto ko nang umuwi. Magpagkwentuhan namin ng coach ko kung anong nangyari. Kasi hindi ko naiintindihan lahat ng nangyayari eh. Basta ganun, pero kailangan pang yung drug test, diba? Hindi ka kaagad makakalabas eh. Kinuha kami kaagad for doping, ganyan. So, okay naman, wala namang problema. Pag-uwi namin sa Athletes Village, yun yung tuwang-tuwa talaga. Grabe ako din, tuwang-tuwa din ako, no? Pero, for all those times, nasa sports ako kasi gusto ko yung travel. Mahirap lang kami mami, so I cannot afford to travel. Naisip ko, nung high school ako, nung una-una nag-travel ako sa Japan, dahil sa sports, sabi ko, okay to ang sarap So I was doing it for myself, selfishly for myself. Pero nung nandun na kami sa, nung ina-award na yung medal, grabe talaga, ma'am. Syempre, pinakamababa yung Philippines. Pero the fact na umaangat siya, umiiyak talaga ako. Wow, hindi ko alam kung bakit. Pero nung nakataas na siya, ang tumutugtog yung ng Egypt kasi sila yung nanalo. Pero pakiramdam ko, iyak talaga ako, naiyak. Akala ng coach ko, naiyak ako kasi natalo ako. Pero iyak ako, naiyak kasi tumutulo talaga yung luha na ngayon na. Ma'am, yung parang, I was sitting taller. Kung nakakalakad ako, siguro I was standing prouder. Philippine team, Philippine flag, tumataas siya na gano'n. Na wala namang nobody was expecting to win. Even ako, nagulat sa panalo ko, ma'am. Yung gano'n. Ayun po, so doon ko na-realize na, hala, para pala sa Pilipinas ito, no? It was afterwards that I realized na yung laban na yun para sa Pilipinas at para sa para-sports. Kasi po, di ba, syempre nga, yung respeto para sa para-sports, hindi naman gano'n. Parang marami po at the time na nag-think na parang recreational yun, hindi naman talaga siya competitive sport, ganyan. Pero nung nakita ko talaga yun, grabe. Tapos unti-unti po so umuwi na. Siguro sabi ko nga, baka lang ako dahil yung bugso ba, ma'am, yung energy kasi, yung palakpakan, yung dami, pakiram ko kung dumadagundo kasi yung mga, syempre yung supporters po ng mga taga-China, tsaka taga-US, dumadagundo talaga yung venue. Pero pag uwi namin, unti-unti, mas lalo pang, yun na dyan, dumating na yung mga flowers from the Filipino community, invitations for dinner, ganyan, sa embassy, gano'n. Tapos yun, si Mr. Beredo din kasi bago lang din siya nun, bago lang ang Phil's Banda nun, 3 years lang, 1997 ng Philspada, tapos 2000 ako nanalo. So, alam mo yun, we had a very, very long way to go. And he was explaining to me the importance of that medal. Before pa ako nanalo, tahimik naman ang buhay namin. Pero pagkatapos kong nanalo lang, yung nagre-request na pupasok sa Akis Village, yung ita-trip kami, yung mga ganon. Doon ko unang naramdaman nun, kasi dapat po, di ba, naka-ID palagi. So one time, lumabas kami, pinapasyal po ako ng mga Pilipino. Lumabas kami, tapos, doon sa parang isang square na I think it's called Olympic Park. Nandun kami, ako, tuwang-tuwa ako. Maraming estudyante. Nung nakita nila ako, grabe, ang pila, kaka-autograph. So, I did not realize that was history in the making. Pero yun po, I guess that's good na hindi ko na-realize it. It was only after everything na sinabi nila sa akin. Mabuti na lang din yun, ma'am. Kasi wala lang, tuwang-tuwa lang ako talaga na parang, yes, nabigyan ko sila ng I gave them something to smile about. And here, I was offered to stay in Australia nga po. Kasi, may pwede silang gawin or something na they invited me to stay, I can train there, ganyan. Tapos sinabi ko kay Sir Mike, sabi ko, Sir, pwede ba mag-stay na lang po ako dito? Tapos sabi niya, no, Adeline, you have to go home first, and then you have to thank the people who supported you, ang PSC, ganyan, lahat. And then, if the offer still stands pagkatapos nun, then you can decide kung anong gusto mo. Pero yun nga po, nanaig ang pasasalamat, di ba? At pagtanaw ng utang na loob sa So, bumalik po ako dito. Tapos yun, ma'am, si Chairman Tuasan mismo ang nandun para sumalubong at magbigay ng flower. May pa-flowers pa. Yun lahat naman yung pagkapanalo ko na yun. At saka yung mga sumunod pa. At hanggang ngayon, yung pakikipag-compete ko pa rin. It just shows na kaya ng Pilipino, unang-una kaya ng Pilipino, kaya ng mga babae, na ang larong pagbubuhat ng barbell ay hindi lang pang lalaki. In fact, ito nga syempre si Adeline Diaz, babae din yon. Weightlifting, di ba? Hindi naman siya malaki. In fact, nasa lower weight category siya. Alam nyo, na pwede itong laruin at pwedeng salihan ng mga babae. Ako po ay 100% na ifugaw. Ayan. Ako ay isang katutubo. Walang halo. Ayan. Ang aking magulang ay parehong katutubo. Siyempre, sa ifugaw sila, isa sa Tinok Ifugao, at yung nanay ko naman ay galing sa Asipulo Ifugao. Ako po ay pinanganak at lumaki hanggang 6 na taon sa Kiangan Ifugao. 3 taon ako nung nagkaroon ako ng polio. Siyempre, dahil kami nga ay taga doon, ang unang ginawa ay, pagkatapos kumpirmahin dito sa San Lazaro na polio nga yung aking, yung dumapo sa akin na sakit, ay, actually po hindi siya nakakahawa, nakakahawa lang ang polio habang ikaw ay may lagnat. Pero wala naman sa mga kapatid kong nahawa. Ako lang po, mag-isa lang ako. So, pag-uwi namin sa amin, sabi ng mga lolo ko, mga nagbabaki kasi sila. So, syempre kailangan mag-alay kasi sa kanila, pinaglalaroan daw ako ng mga engkanto. Kaya, bata pa po ako, napakaraming baboy at manok ang kinatay, Para lang ako ay gumaling at makalakad ulit. In fact, ginawan pa nga ako ng bulol, yung parang wooden doll, para daw sa kanya mapunta yung sakit. Pero ganon. At saka, syempre, pakagustuhan ng mga magulang ko na makalakad ulit ako. Kahit saan nila ako dinadala pagkatapos gawin yung mga ritual na gano'n, dinala ako sa mga fake healers naman. Andyan na may tumuktok sa akin ng itlog na hilaw, tinignan, yung mga namatay na nabuhay daw ulit, yung mga kung ano nung pinahid, lahat yun ginawa nila para sa akin. Pero yun na nga, hanggang sa finally tinanggap na nila na hindi ako makakalakad. Siyempre, worried sila kung anong mangyayari sa akin. Wala akong wheelchair noon at gumagapang-gapang lang ako around the house. So may isang madre na Belgian na missionary na nakakita sa akin, si Sister Renata. Tinanong niya yung aking mga magulang, ano ang plano ninyo para sa kanya? Hindi ko alam kung ano sinagot ng mga magulang ko, pero siguro sinabi nila na gusto nila ako mag-aral, ganyan. Bata pa ako noon eh. So, nung sabi ni sister na sige, pag pwede na siya, pag lumaki-laki na, pwede na natin siyang dalhin sa bahay mapagmahal. At dito nga yung sa Maynila. 6 years old ako noon, nung sabi nung madre na pwede na akong dalahin dito. Actually, ayaw ng nanay ko, no? Kasi syempre, mawawalay ako, 6 years old eh. Ayaw ng nanay ko. Pero yung tatay ko ang nagdesisyon na hindi, kailangan natin gawin to para sa kanya. Kasi anong gusto mo? Pag sabi niya sa nanay ko, ha, I think yun ang nagpabago sa isip ng nanay ko. Nung sinabi ng tatay ko na, gusto mo ba pag tumanda na siya, gumagapang pa rin siya, tapos maghihintay na lang siya ng maghihintay na lang siya ng tulong galing sa mga kapatid niya. So, siguro yung image na yun ang ayaw ng nanay ko. So, kahit masakit, dinala nila ako dito sa bahay mapagmahal. So, eto po yun. This is the place. Dito ako lumaki. Mula 6 years old ako hanggang 16. 10 taon po ako dito, elementary and high school. Ito yung nagsilbing tahanan ko, no? Bahay. Pero syempre, dahil sa hindi naman talaga to bahay namin, wala yung nanay ko tsaka mga kapatid ko dito, hindi masyadong madali ang buhay kasi dito meron kaming may schedules, alas 5 gigising, dalawa lang ang CR para sa lalaki tsaka babae. Kailangan naka-schedule yung oras kami paniligo kasi lahat kami estudyante. Lahat naman kami may kapansanan. Kaya dito din ako natuto na gumawa ng mga gawaing bahay, maglaba, maghugas, magwalis, magmap, lahat po yun. Lahat yun, may division of labor naman. So, may schedule kami, ganyan. Dito din ako nahubog yung istruktura na merong, yung disiplina na merong study period, may playtime, may oras ng pagtulog. Dito din ako natuto na makisama kasi sa iba't ibang klase ng tao dahil galing kami sa iba't ibang lugar. Tawag dito, 2 linggo, nung dinala ako ng unang-una dito ng nanay ko, 2 linggo siyang nagstay dito para masanay ako konti. Kasi first time, hindi ako marunong mag-Tagalog. First time ko din gumamit ng wheelchair. Yung unang gamit ko, nakatalikod yata ako. Pag ako nag-wheelchair, patalikod ako nag-wheelchair. Tapos yon, so papasok ako, pag uwi ko, akala ko nandito pa siya. Wala na pala. After 2 weeks, hindi na niya nagawang magpaalam kasi nga mag-iiyak ako. 6 years old ako. Siguro naiyak lang ako kasi nanay din ako. Ngayon, nanay ako. So, naalala ko pag ang anak ko nga pagka mahihiwalay sa akin, ang sakit, diba? Tapos, na-imagine ko, mas malaki na yung anak ko noon, pero nung nagkahiwalay, ini-imagine ko lang, no, yung sakit na naramdaman din ng nanay ko, tsaka yung sakit na naramdaman ko bilang bata, pagdating ko, wala na yung nanay ko, ano nangyari? Ganon. Wala namang mga cellphone ng mga panahon na yun, so, penpal kami. Penpal kami ngayon. Yun po. Pero, although, di naman madali, pero masaya naman, kasi parang isang pamilya lang kami dito. Marami kami natutunan dito eh. Dito ako natutong maging independent. Dito ako natutong yung disiplina talaga. Tsaka, dito din, kasi dahil nasa loob kami ng Philippine Orthopedic Center, dito ko unang nakilala ang sports para sa mga taong may kamansanan. Dahil nga po, ang sports kasi dito parte ng rehab program nila para sa mga na-aksidente, ganyan. So sa umaga, dadaan kami sa gym, dati pa yun iba, dadaan kami sa gym, may mga exercises sila, mga floor exercises. Tapos, meron na kasing mga atleta noon, pero yun nga, part lang ng rehab nila yon. Tsaka may mga competitions din silang sinasalihan, pero hindi nga ganun ka-competitive. So, pag nakikita ko sila na, sila ate, sila kuya, pupuntang mag-practice, kasi bawal po kami lumabas dito. At pwede lang kami lumabas kapag may training, nakikipractice. So, syempre, kapag sinong gustong sumali sa swimming, taas ako. Sinong gustong sumali sa wheelchair basketball, taas ulit ako. Lahat ng pwede kong salihan dito. Sa school, tsaka dito, na mga sports, tataas ako. Kasi meron akong katawan para dyan. So, ang music ay talagang malaking part din ng buhay ko. Kasi dito sa Bahay Mapagmahal, parte ng disiplina ang pag-aaral ng bandurya or ng kahit anong instrumento ng rondalya. Pwede kang pumili, bandurya, octavina, guitar, pwede kang mag-bass, o kaya, drums, gusto mo. Pero lahat kami, bilang mga residente ng itong Bahay Mapagmahal, ay kailangan namin mag-aral ng instrumento kaya gusto namin, kaya hindi. So, pagkatapos namin mag-aaral kami ng instrument, sa academics, no? Tapos magtutugtog kami ng yung sa rondalya, tapos sa gabi kami maglalaro. So, ganun yung namin. So, anyways po, so doon, elementary hanggang high school, hanggang college, ay kasama ako sa grupo. Nag-start ang Rondalya on Wheels in 1978. Wala pa ako noon. Pumasok ako dito 1980. So anyways po, parte na ako ng grupo na yon hanggang sa ngayon. Pero dun sa group na yon, yung journey ng grupo na yon, ayun nga, nabanggit ko kanina na nakapag-tour na din kami sa Europe. And then, nakatugtog na kami sa 2 Disneyland. Disneyland sa Japan, tsaka Disneyland sa Hong Kong. Nag-perform na kami doon. So, nagpadala din kami ng mga kailangan kasi namin mag-audition. So, at nakakatuwa kasi 2 beses naman, natanggap naman kami. So, ayun po. At tsaka, dahil doon, nakaikot na din kami sa mga probinsya. So, hindi yung probinsya, pero sa mga lugar sa Pilipinas. Cebu, Davao, General Santos, Cavite de Oro, sa Norte, Ifugao. Sa amin, nakapunta na sila, Ilocos, Baguio. Yan po, naikot na namin ang Pilipinas to share our music. So, syempre, ang Rondalya po ay grupo, no? Hindi naman ako mag-isa lang. So, yung mga kasama ko dito sa Bahay Mapagmahal, na kahit na natapos na, ay bumabalik para mapanatili na magkakasama kami sa grupo. Tinuturuan namin yung mga sumusunod, yung mga mas bata sa amin. Ganun po kasi yung tradisyon. So, kung ano yung natutunan namin, ipapasa namin yon. And so, we become a role model for the younger ones to show them that there is life after Bahay Mapagmahal. That there is life kung aayusin mo, if you make the right choices, then pwede na maiba yung takbo ng buhay mo kaysa dun sa pinagsimulan mo, di ba? So, ganun po. So, malaking parte din ng Rondalya on Wheels sa akin. At nga, 3 years ago nga po ay bumalik na kasi sa Belgium yung founder. And then, ang isa sa wish niya ay sana daw mai-registra namin sa makabuo kami, makapag-organize kami, no? Yung pinakagrupo namin, yung Rondalya on Wheels. Kaya, nung umalis po siya, ay kasama ng ibang mga senior members, gumawa kami ng, finormalize lang natin yung grupo namin. At ako yung naitalaga nila na parang, pinaka-ate. So, I cannot do this alone. So, alam ko naman, it's a teamwork, kaya, tawag dito, sama-sama kami. We're trying to hold on to the legacy that was given to us, no? Na we can share joy through music.
Dumapong-Ancheta, 18 years old, and the daughter of Adeline Dumapong-Ancheta. I'm a BSMP freshman at National University. I didn't really grow up as someone who knows my mom as, the athlete, the powerlifter. I grew up knowing my mom as my mom. Alam mo yung hindi ako, I support her. Ako yung number one fan niya, but hindi ako go na go, like, mas close kami as her daughter. When I was 3 years old, kailangan niya akong ipapunta sa province kasi kailangan niya mag-work para sa akin kasi hindi niya pa ako kaya buhay ng isa. So, that's why she had to send me sa Ifugao para doon muna ako lumaki sa lola ko habang siya nag-work para sa state namin dalawa. Tapos, pero kahit habang lumalaki ako, kasi doon ako sa Ifugao elementary. Tapos habang lumalaki ako, she never missed a night na hindi siya tumawag sa akin. Lagi siyang tumatawag, lagi siyang nagkikwento sa amin. Kasi dati nung bata ako, meron kaming parang paggabi, meron kaming story time na parang may utang siya sa akin na paggabi, dapat lagi siyang may 3 kwento. Kahit Rapunzel, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, ganun. Kahit lang, basta magkwento sa akin ng 3 stories. So yun, enjoy. Tapos, syempre, minsan, na kakaiyakan kami kasi na-miss namin sa isa. Pero, lagi niyang sinasabi sa akin na maging strong ako. Ang naalala ko yung una niyang, sabi niya sa akin, pag may nang-away sa akin, wag ko daw hayaan. Sipain ko, hampasin ko, basta wag kong hahayaan na, alam mo yun, yung pag may nag-try na may kumuha ng kamay ko, ganun, lumaban daw ako, wag kong hahayaan silang gaganunin ako. So, di kami magkasama until grade 8. Tapos, grade 8, yun, the first time ever na magkasama kami tumira sa isang bahay. Kasi, up until grade 7, bumibisita lang siya, bumibisita ako sa kanya, gano'n. Tapos, pag after ng bakasyon na, iyak-iyak na, babay na, gano'n, back to normal ulit, gano'n. Tapos, grade 8, nagkabahay kami sa Montalban. Tapos, talagang, doon ko first naramdaman, doon kami unang nagkasama. Doon niya ako mas natutukan. Kasi ever since nung bata ako, diba, di niya ako masyadong natutukan. Doon niya ako talaga natutukan nung high school ako. Tapos doon, kasi dati payat ako payatin talaga. Tapos nung first time nagkasama kami, talagang na-spoil ako sa kanya. Pagkain doon, ganun. Kasi ever since, hindi kami nahihiyang mag-show ng affection sa isa't isa. Like, ganun niya ako pinalaki, kahit magkalayo kami. Lagi niyang sinasabi sa akin na, lagi kami, I love you, kiss, hug. Hindi kami nahihiyang ipakita yun kahit sa ibang tao, di ba? Kasi usually, di ba, yung mga tao ngayon is mga teenager ngayon, nahihiya sila na mag-I love you sa mami nila, mag-hug, mag-kiss. Pero kami ni mama, never kami nahiyang mag-ganun. I mean, yeah, kahit ngayon ginagawa pa rin namin yun. Siyempre, may mga pag-aaway kami, minsan. Pero, sa mama kasi yung type na stricto, pero hindi stricto. You know what I mean? Yung parang, nagiging stricto sa akin pag alam niya na hindi ko kakabuti, kakasama ko, gano'n. Minsan kahit nagagalit na ako sa kanya kasi nga gusto kong gawin ko, siya hindi. Sobrang firm niya pag alam niya hindi makakabuti sa akin yung isang bagay. Pero kapag makakabuti naman sa akin, papayagan niya ako, supportive siya sa akin sa sports ko, nahayaan niya ako maglaro, nahayaan niya pumunta sa friends ko, mag-overnight, okay lang yun sa kanya, basta alam niya na safe ako, gano'n. Proud ako kay mama, pero hindi ako yung tipong talagang, oh may ganito si mama, interview, kailangan ganyan. Kasi, hindi naman ganun ka-importante yun kay mama. Dapat alam ko, dapat number 1, dapat ganun. Hindi kami ganun. So, pero kapag never ko ikakahiya si mama kasi tinatanong sa akin na, ano daw feeling kapag pag yung mother ko, PWD, sabi ko, wala. Nanay ko, bakit? Ano bang iba ng na mother na PWD sa mother na nakakatayo? Parehas lang. Pagpapagalitan niya ako pag mali, praise niya ako pag okay, gano'n. Wala namang ano yun, wala namang major difference nun. Ako, yun ako natuto na maging helpful, maging alert. Kasi yung mga friends niya din, di ba, naka-wheelchair, gano'n. Tapos, tinuruan niya ako paano, okay, ganito, Alisa, turuan kita. Paano yung paano may handle yung naka-wheelchair. Dapat lagi mo silang tutulak, pag gano'n. Dapat paano may fold, paano mo ilalagay yung wheelchair nila sa likod ng taxi, gano'n. Tapos, dapat marunong ka mag-assist, ganyan. Kasi, sabi niya, always be helpful when you have the time. Always be kind. Ganun. Kasi, yun din yung turo sa kanila na ni mommy at ni daddy, yung parents niya. Ayun. Even though, tapos naman, siya ang tumayo as my mother and my father. Kasi, even though I grew up without a father, okay lang sa akin. I mean, never akong naghanap na bakit gano'n, bakit unfair. Never ko naisip yun, promise. Never talaga. Kasi kontento na ako kay mama. Ang dami nagkasabi sa akin na sobrang swerte ko sa kanya. I'm proud na swerte ako sa kanya. Kasi totoo yun. As her only daughter, gusto ko maging successful din ako para sa aming dalawa.
Magandang araw po. Ako po si Harold Tilagan at si Ate Adeline Dumapong po ay nakilala ko ng maraming taon na. Siguro it start on 1998 nung ako po ay mapasok dito bilang estudyanteng third year high school. Na-meet ko po si Ate Ads. Ate Ads po ang tawag namin sa kanya dahil siya po yung isa sa mga senior na inabutan ko na nakuhaan ko po ng mga bagay na marami para sa aking buhay. Isa na po doon yung music. Ako po ay mahilig sa gitara. Subalit yun po ay na-improve ko pagdating dito sa bahay mapagmahal sa tulong ni Ate Adeline. Bilang kaibigan naman po, aside sa pagiging isa sa tagapagturo namin ng music, si Ate Adeline po ay isang kaibigan na stricto pero may respeto at may pagpapahalaga po sa bawat isa sa amin. At yun naman po ay pinahalagahan din namin sa pamagitan ng pagsunod doon sa mga bagay na nais niya na alam din naman namin na makakabuti sa amin. At dahil siya nga po ay mas advanced sa amin, siguro bukod sa larangan ng musika at sa buhay na rin, kami po ay talagang sumusunod naman doon sa mga bagay na ipinapayo niya namin kahit labas po doon sa pagtuturo ng musika.
Po si Renato Caballero, taga Barangay San Pedro, General Teño, Nuevencia. Nadisgrasya po ako 1987, April 30, 1987. Tapos po dumating ako rito sa orthopedic 1987 na rin po. Yung birthday ko no March 8, yun talaga ang hindi ko makalimutan na ginawa niya sa akin na dinala niya ang buong rondalya. Subalit ang rondalya po ay nakakarating na kung saan. Yun po mga bisita ko na taga ron sa amin nung sila'y tumutugtog. Hindi na po sila talaga makakain kasi ang dami mga disabled na talagang tumutugtog. Rondalya always talaga na talagang isa sa mga sikat na na tumutugtog na PWD.
Hello po, magandang hapon. Ako po si Donna Rose Hidalgo. Napasok po ko dito sa bayan pagmahal nung ako 6 years old. Doon po nakakilala si Ate Adeline. Siya po yung laging nagpupunta po dito para magturo po ng rondalya. Tapos dahil nga po makulit po ako since bata po, siya po yung isa sa mga ate na magsasabi ng kung ano yung tama at mali at papangaralan ka niya. Siyempre nung una po hindi ko po yun naintindihan kasi bata lang ako, ano ba yung mga sinasabi niya, ganun. Pero nung lumalaki na ako, doon ko lang po naiintindihan yung mga sinasabi niya na para sa akin din yun. Tsaka yung mga payo na sinasabi niya is yun yung maghuhubog sa amin para matuto kaming tumayo sa sarili namin mga paa kahit na may mga kapansanan kami. At yun din yung naging way para matutunan namin makisalamuha sa ibang tao, lalo na paglabas sa totoong buhay o sa realidad, kung saan yung mga tao ay mga nakakalakad, walang kapansanan, sila yung mga magja-judge sa'yo. Tinuturuan kami nila Ate Ads na kung paano mo yun haharapin or kung paano mo yun iti-take as a challenge. Kung si Ate Ads po, siya po yung isa sa may tuturing ko po, pinaka-ate po alaga namin dito kasi lahat po ng mga naranasan niya, sinasabi niya sa amin para kapag kami naman po yung nandun sa point na yun, alam po namin kung paano namin yun naharapin or paano namin yun iti-take as a challenge din po bilang may kapansanan po kami.
Welcome sa Bahay Mapagmahal. Ako po si Lorna Quatico, house parent ng Bahay Mapagmahal. Ang ginagawa po ng mga bata rito, tuwing 4 o'clock in the morning, gising po nila para maligo. Ang kain po namin is 6 o'clock. Nagpe-pray muna kami ng mga bata bago kumain. Sila po ay pumapasok na 6:30 sa school dito pa sa NOH of People Children. Ito lang po sa may orthopedic saka sa may Titwason. Elementary po dito sa loob ng hospital, ang high school po dun sa may Titwason. Ang mga schedule po nila dito ay nag-aaral ng 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then, 5:30, po sila nagpa-practice ng rondalya, yung mga bata. Then, study again, prayer, 9 o'clock, tulog na po sila. Then, tapos nakilala ko po si Adeline, si Ads ng 1996. Nagpatulong po ako sa kanya sa pagdidisiplina sa mga bata dahil napakadami ko po mga alaga ng mga bata. Tinutulungan niya naman po ako, napakabait sobra ni Adeline.
On behalf of our viewers, thank you, Ms. Adeline Dumapong-Ancheta, for conquering your physical obstacles to make the Philippines proud. Now it's time to thank our generous sponsor, Pocari Sweat Philippines, a company that has been empowering women athletes to achieve their athletic dreams by providing a quick and efficient supply of balanced ions to keep them hydrated during game time. Now let's watch this video. Thank you, Pocari Sweat. Let's support our athletes the way Pocari does. But before we end today's episode, let's call in our resident mindfulness and meditation coach, Miss Adeline Dumapong, for a guided meditation that will help us cultivate our self-compassion.
Thank you. So once again, good day to all of you. I appreciate the fact that you've chimed in once more to join us for another session of Rise Up, Shape Up. And for this particular episode, I was invited to lead a practice and a brief talk on self-compassion. And so for those of you who are new to these kinds of practices, new to mindfulness in general, I'll just say a little bit as a bit of background. In the mindfulness meditation tradition, there's a related but distinct set of practices which are known as the cultivation practices. So as the name implies, these are really systematic ways of training our minds, training our hearts to embody, to express, to radiate particular qualities which are prized in any human culture. Okay, so qualities like equanimity, qualities like forgiveness, qualities like kindness, qualities like compassion, even qualities like gratitude. And so the basic premise of the cultivation practices is that these are qualities, these are attitudes that we can learn to express more and more, even if we feel like, temperamentally, from a personality standpoint, we're not really that sort of person. So the idea is, if we engage in these practices, if we devote 5, 10, 15 minutes a day in doing them, then we'll find it much easier to access these states, to radiate these qualities in daily life, even in circumstances that can be challenging. So you can think of them as mental, emotional training, so to speak. And so for today's particular cultivation practice, the focus is self-compassion. And for some of you who are listening to this, that might sound a little strange because people would be like, why would I need to practice self-compassion? Isn't it the easiest thing in the world to be compassionate towards myself? The ironic thing is, it actually isn't. And in some cultures, it's harder than others. Okay, for many, many people, and I have heard this from students who've reported what it's like to me, they tell me, teacher, to be completely honest, I find it very easy to be kind to others. I find it very easy to put my family, to put my friends, to put my colleagues first. But when it comes to being compassionate towards myself, when it comes to giving myself a break, I can't. And so it bears examination that self-compassion is not as easy as it seems. It's not as easy as it looks, especially in cultures where there's a bit of a belief that a focus on the self is selfish, egotistical, and self-centered. And so we get a number of mixed messages about the degree to which we should be compassionate on ourselves. And one of the foremost researchers on self-compassion, Christine Neff, she pointed out that, for many of us, it's not a problem being kind to our best friends, but we don't have that same kind of attitude towards ourselves. So if you look in your own experience, you'll notice that when you're struggling personally, you don't really give yourself any breaks. If your best friend is struggling, you're patting her on the back or patting him on the back, you're providing reassurance, you're providing consolation. But if you're the one who's struggling, there are no breaks. There is no relaxation. There's no pat on the back. It's keep going, be brave, put on a stiff upper lip and just soldier through. And if we're not struggling, let's say that we've made a mistake, okay? If it's our best friend who's made a mistake, again, so easy for us to be compassionate. We tell them things like, You did your best. How could you have known any better? You did what you could given the resources that you had. And we naturally know what to say when somebody we care about has made a mistake. But when we make a mistake, the kinds of things we say to ourselves, okay, tanga-tanga mo, bakit mo ginawa yan? Don't you ever learn? Okay, just the sheer harshness of the inner commentary. The things we say to ourselves when we're struggling, when we're having a bad time, the things we say to ourselves we would never say to another human being, or maybe we would, but we'd have to be pretty upset. So again, my point in saying all this is that self-compassion is not as easy as it sounds. It's not as easy as it looks. For many of us, it's not the automatic. Okay, what's automatic for us is self-castigation, self-flagellation, to sort of bully and criticize ourselves inside our heads. Okay, that's how we've kind of grown up with it. And the really sad thing is, when we're not compassionate towards ourselves, it actually doesn't help. When you're beating on someone who's already down, it doesn't help. In fact, many times it makes things worse. And so when we're in a bad space, and let's say we've made a mistake, hating on you is not going to fix anything. In fact, it's going to just add another layer of suffering on top of an already painful and difficult situation. And so when we practice self-compassion, it's really not about being soft on ourselves. Okay, it's not about tolerating mistakes. It's really just recognizing that we're human. Okay, it's literally just offering to ourselves what we would offer to another human being. Okay, so in this practice, we're going to be engaging in self-compassion towards ourselves. The cultivation practices tend to involve a little bit more visualization than a typical mindfulness practice. And so if you think that you're not the sort of person who visualizes things easily, then just do your best. All right? So just try to follow the instructions to the best of your ability, and whatever will happen, will happen. All right. So now we're going to engage in a self-compassion practice. We'll kick things off by first just finding a way of sitting that allows you to be upright and alert, while also remaining relatively relaxed and at ease. Just let your chin be parallel to the floor. Allow your shoulders to relax downwards away from your ears. Soften the gaze. Or if you'd like, close your eyes altogether. And just to ease in, to segue into the practice, let's just take 3 cycles of the breath. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and breathing out. Now, gently bring to mind a recent situation that you've gone through where you felt that you made a mistake. A situation that involved you making a mistake or failing in some way. It could have been at work. It could have been at home. It could have been in how you handled some relationship in your life. But just bringing to mind, it can be a recent situation, it can be something from long ago. But just bringing to mind a situation where you made some kind of mistake. As you bring this situation to mind, just see if you can remember the details of it. Remembering the situation, remembering the people involved. See if you can remember what it felt like in your body in that situation. Was your chest tight? Were your hands clenching into fists? Was there a lump in your throat? Just trying to remember the body sensations in that situation. See if you can recall the feelings. What emotions were there? Was there irritation towards yourself? Was there disappointment? Was there shame? Was there guilt, regret, annoyance? Just remembering the feelings that were there for you in that situation. See if you can remember the thoughts. What were you thinking then? Were there thoughts like, you're such an idiot? How could you do this again? This is the nth time you've made this mistake. And what thoughts were there for you during that situation? And just for the space of this meditation, can you just give permission for all those feelings and sensations and thoughts to be? Especially the feelings. See if you can just be present to the tenderness of your heart, how sore it feels, how vulnerable it feels. And see if you can give yourself permission to feel that vulnerability. Just reconnecting to that part of you that really hurts when you make a mistake. That part of you that feels threatened when you make a mistake. The part of you that feels ashamed and unworthy, maybe even terrified. And as you deepen your presence towards this tender, vulnerable part of you that's aching, begin to sense what it could possibly need. If you could relate to it as a small child that's separate from you, what words of kindness, what gestures of comfort could soothe this tender, vulnerable part of you, the one that's aching underneath the mistake. And as words and as gestures come to mind, imagine that you're offering these words and gestures to this tender and vulnerable part of you. Or if that's too strange for you to imagine another being instead, a being that represents unconditional love for you. It can be a grandparent who loved you deeply when you were a child, could be the Mother Mary, but whatever being represents unconditional love for you. You can imagine that being offering to this vulnerable, hurting, wounded part of you what it needs. Maybe it just needs to hear, "It's okay. I know you did your best. And there wasn't anything else that you could have done Maybe it just needs to hear, you'll be fine. You've been through worse. You've made bigger mistakes. And you've always pulled through. Or maybe it just needs to hear, I know how hard you tried. I know how hard you always try. Just because you made a mistake doesn't make you a bad person. And perhaps you can imagine receiving a hug if you think that will serve. Perhaps receiving a hand on the top of the head, a gentle pat on the back. And sensing whatever it is that this vulnerable, aching, tender part of you still needs. And just offering it either through your older self or through another being. And as you offer kindness and compassion towards yourself, notice how it feels. Notice what changes in your physical experience. Notice what changes in your stomach, in your chest, in your throat, in your face. So just notice what becomes available to you when you can deliberately offer yourself compassion in the same way that you would to a good friend. And as we end this meditation, just taking a few moments to pause, just noticing any shifts, just noticing any observations or insights that may have arisen for you out of doing this meditation. And then slowly, taking your time, if you happen to have closed your eyes, you may gently open your eyes now. So welcome back. And so I hope that you found the practice useful and valuable. Because really, if we can't be kind towards ourselves, how can we possibly be kind to others? So once again, my name is Eileen, and I wish you the graces and the gifts of compassion towards self and others in this blessed holiday season. So namaste.
Thank you so much, Miss Aileen. Wow, that is a very powerful meditation. And this is something I always look forward to every week. It is true, we always need to take care of ourselves first because you cannot give which you do not have. So let us fill our love tanks first before we give love to others. And on that note, we are now at the end of today's episode. Let us know what you think by leaving your comments down below. And make sure to give us your feedback by answering the feedback form and be eligible to win a Pocari Sweat gift pack if you are from the NCR and Calabarzon areas. The winners from last week are listed below. Please send us a DM to get your prize. Rise Up, Shape Up is brought to you by the Philippine Sports Commission, Women in Sports. And we would like to thank our partner, Tag Fair, and of course our generous event sponsor, Pocari Sweat. We'd also like to acknowledge the PSC Board of Commissioners, Chairman William I. Ramirez, Commissioners Arnold Agustin, Ramon Fernandez, Celia Kiram, and Charles Raymond Maxey. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Rise Up and Shape Up as we talk about how to age gracefully. You'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. Don't forget to follow us on our social media channels. This is your host, Clarissa. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye! Rise up
up and shape